Welcome to A Certain Style of Podcast, episode 20. I'm your host, Guy Hawkins, and I'm here with Tim and Andy, as always, and this week we are going to be talking about short films once again, our experiences making them, and things that we have learnt. So stick around and enjoy. Hello, Andy and Tim.
Hello, Guy Hawkins.
Hello.
I'm alright. How are you?
Very well.
Good. Andy?
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, we've got to be civil about all this. Cool. So I think we're going to talk about some short films again today. That went well last week until someone who will remain nameless started rambling about Star Wars. Yeah.
We're going to mention the S word this time.
Oh no, we're going to mention it, just not as much. Before we do, a couple of shout outs to some of our regular listeners. If you can believe it, we have some regular listeners.
No way.
Yeah. So, thank you very much. I'm going to get it all right now. To John Harris, Gemma Harris, Fraser Lawson, Tom Baldwin, Graham Stabler. Andy, help me out with the surname. Stabler.
Yeah.
Did I get it right first or second time?
I don't know. First. Cool.
And Chris Stevens, and Guy Hawkins, Tim Watts, and Andy Coram, because we all listen.
Yep.
And get better. Yeah, thanks for listening. If I didn't mention your name, then let us know that you listen, and definitely drop us some feedback because it helps. You can do that on the website, acertainstyle.com, or you can do it on iTunes, which would be cool because it sounds cool if we've got some reviews up there. So please do that. Let us know what you think.
We're allowed to review ourselves on there.
I think we can. I think as long as you're nice. Just imagine Andy being like a... leaving like a really horrible...
Just imagine Andy, what's going on there going,
it's all right.
I hate Tim's voice. Like, all right.
Yeah, all the times that I've made you do this podcast and you're just going to vent in one succinct email.
Star Wars all the time.
Yeah. I'm sure that's 9 out of 10 podcasts out there, especially this time of year with a Star Wars film coming out. We're not going to do that today.
Yeah, moving on.
All right, short films. We've made all 3 now of our short films that we were making, and that feels pretty good.
We've started all 3.
Yeah. Well, we've done
the
shooting, which we've got a little bit more to do. There's always a little bit more to do.
No.
Pickups don't count.
We've done the hard part. We started.
Yeah,
That
pickups
was a good achievement. I think we should pat ourselves on the back for actually starting some projects, as opposed.
That's the main thing. Yeah. Getting it started is the main thing. I'm just gonna adjust that headphone input. Doesn't sound quite right for me.
Is that any better?
That's better.
Cool.
Yeah, I keep dropping your levels down. Anyway, so the last one was mine, which we did a couple of weeks ago, and that was fun. We spent all day shooting in a closet, and I am now the proud owner of 4 naked Barbie dolls, which I had to buy from a shop.
Yeah,
which is
like you had
fun.
any problem doing that?
I had no problem doing it. I think I was more worried about the poor woman who had to serve me, who asked me if it was for my little girl.
And you said?
And I made a face and went, no. No.
I was going to say, at least this time of year is a good time to do it, but no, not if they quiz you.
What, to buy?
Well, to buy
and get away with it is what you mean. Yeah. They were all naked in the shop. You couldn't buy a Barbie doll with clothes on, so I'm not entirely in the wrong. But no, I let her know that it was for a short film. She didn't make any comment either way after that, which was good. Yeah. How did you guys find that one? Because I guess you guys could relax a little bit at that point, having done yours.
Yeah, I think so.
Already.
I think it helped. Was in the warm, and
it was very warm. So next to a radiator all day.
All one location. And yeah, I guess you had a good idea. I mean, I thought it was a very strong idea, which I think also.
Thanks, Andy.
Helped. That's all right.
Oh, see, we can all get along.
Yeah. And yeah, I thought it went well.
I thought it went very well, but I think we were perhaps a little bit more useless than we might have been if we were a bit less tired. So apologies if we were a bit useless.
No, we were all tired. It really gets you, it really gets to you after a while. It got to me more than I thought. I was absolutely knackered after doing those. There was just no real let up, and yeah, it was quite different doing them all in 1 month. We had like 1 week's break,
Yep.
which wasn't necessarily a break. So because we all do stuff on weekends. But yeah, feels better now it's done. Feels good. And now we've got to do, maybe you guys have got to do more than I do, of the hard bit, which is adding some post-production to it.
Do you want to tease your idea or film?
Or? Yeah. Do I?
I think you should.
Yeah, I think
people
all right.
listening to us go.
All right. Yeah. Oh, we made some films. Yeah. They're about nothing. No. Mine's about a worker robot maid who lives with a family and has a slight bug in her software. Or the entire line of worker maid robots has a bug in their software whereby they are autonomous and start to generate a personality after about a month. And that's not good because you don't want your essentially slave getting a grand idea about the outside world and maybe wanting to escape. And
human rights.
Exactly, yeah. Get that out. So the way that's dealt with is a software update, which happens every month. We pick this story up when that has been moved from 1 month to 7 days because it's maybe got a little bit more severe and they've had a few more cases of them bugging out. And this story focuses on one such robot who is part of the way through that cycle and has started to become a little bit of a kleptomaniac around the house and is picking up all kinds of what we were calling analog type objects because she's a machine and therefore connected to the net. She can't just go and freely browse the works of Shakespeare and things like that and learn about kind of slightly more creative things that humans have done. So she has to do it through all the discarded items of the family she lives in. So she's collected a little cubby hole of interesting things, music boxes, stuff like that. And she hoards that all in her charging space, which is a cupboard under the stairs, which has a nice little Harry Potter tone to it. And that's not really a tease, that's the story.
No, that's like the full story.
No, but that's cool. If it turns out like that, then we did our job well, and we can go on record and say, yeah, that's exactly what we wanted to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like the idea. I think you said it, Andy. If it's a good idea, and whether it comes off this time or not doesn't matter. I think the fact that we tried it out as an idea means that in the future we could expand on it or not.
Yeah, well, it's a good way of trying out ideas and knowing what works and what doesn't and what needs more work potentially.
Yeah. So I read an interesting article today about short films. And it's a little bit contradictory to what we've done, which is good. But I don't necessarily think it's right. It was talking about how a more interesting story is more beneficial than effects. What you need is an intriguing title, a good thumbnail for your film, and then for the story to be quite captivating literally from the get-go. And it doesn't really matter too much about visual effects. It's actually more about the story, which we all know as a basic thing. But I do slightly disagree. This article was in relation to BBC Three going completely online from I think like February next year. It's actually pretty soon, and that they're going to throw the net out to their commissioners and stuff like that to get short form content. So things that are more like what you see online. So things that aren't half an hour, 20 minutes, things that are maybe more 10 minutes, 5 minutes, things that they can play an awful lot of because they're online. They can run 24 hours a day. And I think in the TV world, that's probably true because you want a good story. You want something that's going to continue on for weeks and weeks and weeks, maybe months. However, that's TV. It's kind of still the TV way of thinking. And I actually think that what we're doing isn't necessarily wrong. I think you can have quite a lot of success with a visual style. Show some people some cool effects and go, I kind of feel like watching that. And grab their attention that way. And if there's a good story, great. But if there's not, at least they've got something from it.
Yeah. I mean, I think it goes back to our discussion a couple of weeks ago about overuse of special effects and how that kind of works. And I think it basically comes down to whether it's a good film or not, and the effects either enhance it, or if it's a bad film, it just kind of adds to that.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's some caveats here, right? I kind of agree with you, especially when you think YouTube or something like that. The number of people that just sit and watch basically effects test done by people doing their first or second effects. Like, yeah, there's definitely people there to watch that kind of thing. But I watched a short film and I can't think of the name. It was quite a recent one, and it's got kind of quite a nice idea, and the effects are amazing. Like, I don't know how much money was spent on it, but it was a lot. And you're just totally bored.
Is it? I saw one recently. Is it helicopters landing and? No. Okay.
But does that fit the description as well?
I saw one the other day, and I thought exactly the same thing. The effects were amazing, but yeah, I just got bored with the story. I kind of ended up skipping through. I know,
but that's like what's so like frustrating. And a lot of the one that I watched was down to editing. It was like you really just need to cut out probably 3/5 of it, and it's kind of really, really difficult to do that if you are doing it with the effects and stuff in mind, right?
I think so. I think it brings up a good point in that article is maybe a little bit sort of narrow-minded as to what people want to watch. I think people can be blown away by one cool effect, even if the story is not all that, and kind of be, oh, cool, did you see that thing? Which is more the YouTube kind of point of view. Whereas a good story is also good. I think I would rather see, and this is maybe slightly contrary to my little moan about Star Wars last week, so apologise for that, but I would much rather see 10 short films that aren't very good, that have an interesting like concept or interesting visual style, or they've tried something out that maybe didn't work, but we can see the potential for, and you can then take that and run with it and go, well, these guys tried this. Because we're forever, like in our industry, like people need to see proof of something. So if you try and describe something or write it down on paper, certainly with the people I've dealt with from time to time, it's like showing them something is way more effective. So being able to show them half of what you want to do that someone else has done and go, well, we'll reiterate on that and make it that much better. It's like it's just great to have a vast wealth of stuff around. And I think the key to putting all that together is just a way better way to search for stuff, because we try and search for things all the time, and it's an absolute nightmare to find the specific thing you want or the specific style you want. And there are an awful lot of like short film websites, because YouTube certainly isn't catered specifically for that, neither is Vimeo, but there are plenty of like short film websites, but they're not categorized in those categories. I think there should be like sci-fi or sci-fi experimental and things like that, so you can find those little like effects tests a little bit easier. And that's something I wouldn't mind, like on BBC Three, if there was like 10 minutes of like just interesting like people trying stuff out, like that people do the lightsaber tests all the time. It's like if they did like a show of 10 minutes of those trawled from the internet or whatever, that would be watchable. I'd watch that and go, cool, that guy did that and that guy did that. I'm going to put those two together and go, that's my idea for my next thing, because that sort of, I like that. But
I do think that there's only so much of that somebody who's not like you would watch. And if you repeatedly turn to that channel and it was always like about that, I think you would get turned off quite quick. If you turned it on and you were like, oh, that was a nice little idea. Oh, that was a nice little idea.
Yeah.
That would be quite addictive.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah.
I think that would be neat. I mean, it's trying to get away from that whole TV thing, but I think even the internet's just too big a thing for that. It's almost like, do we need more platforms for this kind of stuff? Because there are specific websites that do their own effects tests, but there's no like, I don't know, maybe there's a need for a slightly more creative effects test. I don't know if that's becoming too sort of narrow in what people want, but because there are like banks of effects tests for like technical things. This is how you do A, B, and C, but they don't really pay too much attention to the final output. They show you the final output, and it's like, well, that's kind of cool. But if you frame that, which is kind of what we've tried to do, is make a short film and do some cool effects that fit within that story. So we've got a reason to output some cool effects instead of just going, oh, here's a cool shot of a like the one I put up on Facebook is the robot with the eye, so got a slightly robotic eye. It's like that could just sit online, but that's kind of a little bit bland. Whereas if you put that effects test into a short form film, then it's kind of doing both things. It's a little bit of entertainment and it's a little bit of like, oh cool, that's good, I want to now learn how to do that. Got to be more places for that creative effectsy creative storytelling kind of thing.
I mean,
we need to make that. We need to make that happen, and then somehow get content for it.
I mean, I think I enjoy watching effects tests, but I think there needs to be it needs to be quite sort of innovative, kind of look wise, or doing something interesting that that doesn't necessarily get done so much in mainstream films, or it's doing an amazing special effect and in a kind of innovative way that means you don't need thousands of pounds to do it. I think I find that's kind of interesting, but part of that is then seeing how they did it. So I think having a sort of because you watch films at the cinema and stuff, and they have amazing special effects, and like this short film I was saying to you, it had incredible special effects, and I probably did it on a fraction of the budget that a movie would have done, but it was still quite run of the mill. There wasn't anything particularly amazing about the style or the about the kind of content, and there wasn't that amazing about the story, and I just sort of started to kind of switch off because it hadn't really engaged. There was nothing there that was like I hadn't seen before, or it was different. And you showed us a test the other day. I can't remember what it was now. The female actress in a spacesuit, and it had a very kind of unique visual style that had a lot of
Gravity.
noise and stuff. No.
Female in a spacesuit.
Yeah. I can't remember. We were watching it the other day, and it had lots of noise.
Yeah. That was the Metroid fan
Metroid,
film.
that's it. Yeah. And that had a sort of a unique look that I hadn't necessarily seen, and I think it could have been a lot shorter because it did feel more like a sort of visual test and a sort of look and feel, sort of that sort of process. I think there's a real interest in that kind of thing.
That may be what we're going to do at some point in the not too distant future. But no, I think you're right. I think that's totally good things to be doing.
But isn't this kind of what people are trying to do? I mean, this one that you just mentioned, the Metroid one, isn't this a good example of actually a lot of love and quite a deep story kind of being there behind it, and then making it, and why is it boring? It's not because they've
No, it's just practice. It's like all of this is practice. We're practicing. Like our stories don't necessarily work first time, but we're still. It's like that's no reason to stop doing it. It's like that's the big thing. It's like don't stop just because maybe your story's not working. You then maybe want to give yourself the cut off to okay, we'll give ourselves another month, try and see if we can turn this around. If not, we'll just put it out as is, and the story is what it is. It's like it should never be a blocker, because at the end of the day, we're kind of the client, so we only have ourselves to blame, in which case we just do better next time. And the important thing is to do better next time, instead of just stopping and going oh, that was hard work and it didn't pay off. It's like it's not going to pay off till time 10, because our films are quite short. It's never going to have that big payoff. So it's just important not to be deterred by that, even though we critique them quite harshly. It's like people are going to do that.
Yeah, and I think you learn from your failures more than you would your successes. So the more we can fail, the better.
So anytime we mess up, we're doing it on purpose to teach ourselves a lesson.
But I think it's a good way of trying stuff out. And going back to the special effects sort of thing in the narrative and stuff, I think we do want to make good stories, but we're also testing our technical skills and abilities, but also seeing what you can get away with. Working to virtually no budget. What effects you can achieve in that, and as the technology improves and the cost of it comes down, then you can achieve pretty amazing
spectacular
effects. I think we're learning slowly kind of what we can achieve, especially in a day. I think we did try a bit of green screening on your film, which I don't think worked.
There was a green screen,
but
and we filmed it.
We didn't have enough lighting, and it was a bit of an afterthought. So I think that's something we can learn. I mean, we tried it when I was outside. The lighting was great, but the conditions, it was just we couldn't get it to work because of the wind and stuff. So, But these things, I think we're gradually learning, when we can use a green screen, when it's going to work effectively, when it's not going to work effectively, and I think those sort of things, trying those sort of things out in doing these films really helps in future things.
Yeah.
And also we're only losing our time at the moment, if future we put some budget in them, or if then it's more expensive to make mistakes, whereas now it's just our time that we're losing.
But hopefully by the time money becomes the thing, we'll be 10 times better.
Well, yeah.
At it. I think that's kind of
that's code for I'm not paying you crap.
I'm not talking about paid for our time. I'm thinking you did for your.
No, it's costly. It's costly. I did 12 films in a year, and that was tough.
Some of them you had to pay for locations and insurance, props. So there's travel, there's a lot
food,
and you don't want to pay that money and then not have any usable footage and stuff. So
no.
So this kind of zero budget filmmaking means that you can make inexpensive mistakes.
Definitely. It's also about recruiting as well. It's trying to find the people who are interested and consistently interested, because that's the thing. Everyone kind of gets excited for one project, but it's making sure that you kind of have support for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because that's tough.
Well, as you say, it's exhausting.
Staying power.
You have to have a lot of patience. There can be quite a lot of sitting around not doing anything.
There can be.
Which I've had experience on shoots before, in a professional capacity, and there's a lot of sitting around and waiting for things and stuff, and I think a lot of people who aren't necessarily kind of having any experience on shoots and stuff, I think that becomes a bit of a surprise sometimes.
Sometimes it's the opposite though, and that's also a shock.
If you're the director, it's generally but if you've got a specific position or role.
No, but even for there are certain shoots whereby that's just a natural byproduct, but there are other times when for instance some of the films from last year were me and an actor, and that was it, and it's they have as much to do as I do because they're doing everything else, and I'm basically just pointing a camera at them, and they're kind of being asked to act for almost a day with not so much input as well. It's it can be the exact opposite, and you get actors turning up into that, and it's it's good, they like it, but it's tiring for them, and they are sometimes slightly more experienced and used to there being sort of up and down periods, and it's you get you pretty much work till lunch and then work till you finish, because it's just them front and center for the entire thing, and they have to carry an awful lot of the weight of the film, and that's almost worse than well, that's about the same as sitting around doing nothing. It's absolutely knackering. So it can go both ways. You never know what you're going to get. With the short film.
We've been very lucky with our actors who've given up their time and
well, that's what's been important to me.
Experience as well.
Finding people who want to do it is kind of key to it, because it's you get to the stage where you're working with people you don't want to work with. Everyone just gets miserable, or you get to the stage too fast where you're paying someone you don't know that well, and then they have their certain quirks and things that you don't expect, and they don't work with the way you work, and it's that's a big bad thing as well, because you haven't sort of spent the time talking to them enough or working with them enough. So when you suddenly have money and you give some random this money, and you're actually that was a really bad thing to do, because you don't know them and they're not going to necessarily do wrong, they're just going to work in the way they work, and you'll be I've never encountered that before. So getting the people now who want to do it, when you do have some money and you can pay them, it's going to be same old, just everyone's getting paid. And that's fantastic.
Did you have that when you were doing your 12 films, that you had people who were, without mentioning names, but who were keen? No, I'm saying, was there people who wanted to be in your films and stuff, but you didn't think that you could work with them, or they had the skills?
Um,
And did you have to kind of let them down gently?
no, not really. I don't think so. Unless I've said something I should have. No, not at all. I mean, in some cases it was the opposite. I was actually trying to put myself in a situation where I was working with people I didn't know, because there wasn't money. Like, I wasn't paying them. So if the film, if we just didn't get on or whatever, because literally the first time you're meeting them sometimes is the day you show up to shoot, and you just have to suddenly go, hi, how are you? Oh, we're doing this today. And they go, they either accept it or they don't. But fortunately for me, they kind of all accepted it, and that was great. But trying to figure them out I'm
pretty sure that what you've asked them to do is not the most extreme thing that most of the people we know have been asked to do at some
but you
point.
never know that. That's the thing. It's
Yeah.
like, yes, actors have done, like, most of them have done their fair amount of, like, kind of crappy jobs to get to where they are now, but you never know what they've been asked to do before, so you kind of, like, have to assume that what you're asking them to do is maybe a little bit, like, because you're not paying them, so everything is kind of like, do you mind doing this, because this is like,
oh, that's for sure.
Can you,
but it's not like you've asked them to slide down a banister naked or something.
no, not yet. No, but there are certain things like when hours go long and things like that. It's like,
oh, for sure.
Some are used to it because
don't get me wrong. Like,
they've done that.
it's
Like, you guys
definitely
were pretty
people
shocked by some of the hours we did, because it's like, because it does run on, and it's like you know it in your head that can happen, but then when you're in the middle of it and you're just like, this is bad, and it is bad because everyone's kind of very tired and they want to do a good job, but everyone's tired, and that's not a good way to work. But you need to get.
I think it's just hard when you're not doing anything. When you're not doing anything useful, it's just, Then it's like extra time for.
Yeah, but that's why it's really helpful. Like doing these films with you guys. It's like even the 3 we've done recently. It's because when I've been directing stuff, there's not been another person. Like, I've longed for an assistant director for a long time in everything I do, but it's like, because they're another person who knows kind of exactly what's going on. Like, they would be someone I've spoken to, and they know ABC, this is going to happen, and when stuff doesn't happen, they know that's going to impact the stuff later on. Having you guys kind of learn a bit of that on set means that if I'm directing something and we're running out of time, you know what needs to be done for the next thing, whether it's just clearing stuff up or it's kind of going, well, let's set this up. You kind of almost need to know that before, like, me or someone else tells you that needs to be done, because, like, I'll be overdoing one thing and I won't be able to think clearly and go, I do need to give this person something to do, and that will make them way more efficient, but I can't think what exactly that should be right now. And the other thing is that people want something to do, but if you give them something remedial to do and they think it's remedial, they'll just be like, nah, screw that. And so that's tough. So having, like, more support from you guys in that respect is going to be super helpful.
You say no, we don't do this at the moment.
No, you do. You're starting to get it. No, because even when I think the best one was on Tim's film, because we had a little bit more space and we had a little bit more of a plan that 2 shoots could happen at the same time, and that was really helpful, because it's like there was no way I could be with you guys, so you just went and did it, and whether that's, like, successful or not successful, you guys ran your own little shoot, and you were working with actors and figuring out the effects and figuring out, okay, this shot from here, and that's perfect. That's the way you kind of learn it, so that when other shots are getting set up, you go, can I be doing this, do we need to do this? It's like asking the questions to me, and I go, yeah, that's great, and you learn that by doing that. So that shoot, I kind of felt, was one of the more successful shoots I've actually done with a small team of people in the short film environment. So that was cool. I like that one. Did you guys like that one? You got to be in some stuff as well.
Yeah, I think it was good though. It kind of pushed us out of our comfort zone a bit.
Yeah.
Both being in front of the camera and behind, and actually, as you say, kind of, thinking about the shot, working out camera angles and lenses, and
it's just the kind of thing that you don't want to do while someone's waiting for you to decide. Just way too underprepared for that, I think. But it was good experience, like Andy says.
I mean,
like, even a smaller thing as, like, moving a light. It's like film equipment, it can be scary because you don't want to break it, you don't want to mishandle it or handle it in a way, because no one goes through orientation of, like, how to handle a camera, how to handle a light. But if you see someone struggling with a light, like, because I do this from time to time, it's like I've kind of made mistakes sometimes where I've got a bit too hands-on and thought I could do something and actually I couldn't, and it's kind of like just got in a worse situation. But there are other times when someone, like, I've got better at going, okay, I know that needs to be moved to there, and as soon as I shout cut, we are moving on to the next scene, and that needs to move there, and that needs to move there. So you just go and do it. You guys seeing that happen and going, okay, well, I know as soon as she shouts cut and we're moving on, that light needs to move, and I can do it, and I'm comfortable doing it. That's what needs to be.
I think part
to be
of
done.
From my experience of being on shoots is knowing when to be on hand to help and when to be out of the way.
Yes.
Sort of not.
Yes.
And I think and sort of, as you say, kind of knowing, okay, we're going to jump into action now, and I'm just going to run in and sort of do what I think's necessary and wait. If I get a command to do, move that there, I'm ready.
Yeah. If Rob Shacklady's listening, I was his camera assistant for one particular shoot, and I'm not a camera assistant, but I was like, I can probably do this because of the kind of shoot it was, and I was all over him in a bad way. Like, I was literally by his side every second going, are you okay? Do you need a drink? Can I get you this? Can I get you that? Can I get you this? Can I get you that? Can I do this? Can I do that? And it's just
Almost
like, he was just
harassment.
like, yeah. He should have sent me away to do, like, that's when you do kind of go, can you go get me like a long stand, please, or whatever they give
from this other city.
yeah. And they send like interns off to do that thing that you can't get. He should have done that. So it's very interesting seeing both sides. You're quite right. Like, there's too much and there's too little, and you've got to find the bit in the middle, and then a film gets made, and everybody's happy. Cool. That was good. I like that. I was going to talk about some things I've seen, but have you guys
talk
seen
about
anything?
this thing you've seen?
Yeah. For those of you watching the video version.
Yeah, we didn't mention this before. People have just.
I know. I kind of think that's kind of funny. Like, if they are curious, then they'll stick around and they'll maybe want to hear what it is. Yeah. If not, then they've gone already, and never mind.
Coach them in.
Yeah. So I bought that today because, and Andy, I know you were asking me a bunch of questions as to why I have it. No, it's not a Christmas present for myself, but it is for Christmas. I don't have anything for the top of the tree at the moment, and I've always thought Superman should go at the top of a Christmas tree. So that's where that's going to go. What I didn't get is I didn't realize he was going to come with a removable arm. So he comes with a very normal arm, and you can remove that arm and put on a very abnormal arm. And that's the arm we see here today, which sees Superman do something very inappropriate from the right angle. That doesn't move. The three arms is supposed to give the impression of motion, I see. But he's doing a bad thing.
It looks sort of weird webbing.
Yeah, that makes it all the more uncomfortable to look at. But that's going on top of the tree with or without that arm, I'm not sure yet.
Nice.
But that's
Has he got a normal arm that's kind of outstretched?
He's got a normal arm. No, actually, because he's I was saying this to someone earlier. It's like you get good figures and you get bad figures. That's a good figure, but what you lose in posability, you gain in like finish, and that's quite a nice little figure for not super amounts of money. But yeah, or a blue t-shirt. There's a red thing on the table. It's all Superman themed. And we didn't speak about Superman, but we did. Maybe hear some music.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's good. I like it. I need to get something good on my Christmas tree.
What have you got at the moment? You haven't put it up yet?
No, this weekend.
What's that like? What's the date today? It's the 18th? No, it's not the 18th.
No.
Wow. Oh, that would have been a shock. What if I was right?
Oh my god.
Oh, we would have missed Star Wars.
Oh man,
actually, that would be, that's literally a week today. Oh, see? That naturally got brought up. Yeah. So, yeah, we're going to see Star Wars in a week's time. 3 hours from now.
What can we put on my Christmas tree? I'm trying to change something.
Yeah.
Nice.
I don't know. Superman?
No.
What do you like?
Yeah.
What do you like? Do you like cats?
No. Well, I do. I don't mind cats.
Would you like a cat on your Christmas tree?
No. I like cheese.
Put cheese on it.
Put cheese.
There you go.
I could hang cheese off my Christmas tree.
Yeah.
And
Some people
then,
hang chocolate.
Actually, you know what? You could just like hang Baby Bell off all your branches and then have
I
like
suppose
a big...
that's. I was going to say what cheese is good at room temperature, but Baby Bell you
Most
can
of it
eat at room temperature.
Yeah, most
and
cheese.
it's sealed, so it doesn't get too sweaty.
Exactly.
Get those cheese singles you get, like the
This is a great idea.
the ones that come in the net. You know the ones I mean? They're all like about this long.
Yeah, yeah.
And they come in a net, and they're like, you can get those.
You get like a little Bavarian smoked.
Yeah. Just wrap some string around that and put them on your tree, and then you got cheese tree.
I like the idea.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it.
Christmas tree, Tim. Have you got one?
Nah.
Are you gonna get one?
Nah.
No. Nah.
It's a bit.
Nah.
It's. I love Christmas trees, but living in a shared house with 5 other people, you know how big our combined kitchen, living room,
Get a mini one.
dining room.
Get one for your room.
Mini one.
Get one made of chicken bones.
My parents have got like a nice proper tree, so when I go home for Christmas, it's like that's Christmas. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Cool. You also went to Berlin. How was that?
Berlin was amazing. Mostly did lots of history, like seeing lots of stuff you'd expect to see in Berlin.
Such as?
Such as the Brandenburg Gate, such as the remnants of the wall, things like that. Yeah, really, really cool place.
I ask because I went and didn't do any of that.
I heard you were trapped in a room.
Yeah, I was working, but some people did manage to venture out of the hotel we were shooting in to go and look at some stuff, but I never did. And I kind of didn't have a very favourable view of Berlin after that.
It is a very grey city, kind of understandably.
The bit I drove through looked like the war was still going on.
Was this the east side?
It was the bit on the way from the airport to the hotel, and it looked bad. Very, very bad. Almost like when you want to create your sci-fi city and you have your metropolis in the middle.
Dystopian metropolis.
Yeah, you have your rich bit in the middle, and then everything else outside of that is instantly poor.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like to me.
The east side.
Yeah, there's a lot of it that's still in pretty bad state. But like
Quirky.
1990, I mean, that wasn't that long ago.
No.
It was a long time ago.
Jurassic Park hadn't come out yet.
25 years ago.
But you think about like
For a country to be split in half by a brick wall,
it's
kind of extreme.
And like, you know, the States versus the Soviets kind of thing. Like it's just weird.
Yeah.
It's weird.
No, you're right.
It's not. It doesn't seem that it could have been that recent that things were so.
Well, I don't know. I think things are fairly messed up. well, not quite.
Let's not get political, but yeah.
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, let's talk about stuff we know very little about. Well, I know very little about. So this big rich center of Berlin, and then the poor outlying areas of Berlin.
It's a bit like a dystopian future.
Yeah, we should make a film about it. Tim, when we were making your short film, we had a couple of conversations about what you wanted to make. So what we actually made was something very different because we needed to make something. But the conversations we had beforehand, and these are always great conversations, was like, what could we do that's like the big idea?
I don't think it's that easy to come up with the scenario for a film that is talking about the future that isn't dystopian. Like when I was thinking about mine and such, I was finding it really, really difficult because then any sort of scenario that ends up more utopian or more neutral, you're just waiting for the flaw. It's like the film's just unfinished until you say, but this is the catch. And I thought that was really interesting. Like, and you know, Guy made a very good point, which is, you know, major point in film or whatever is it has to be about conflict. And I think that's got a lot of truth behind it. But nevertheless, I just kind of found that really interesting.
It's really tough to try and find a film that doesn't fit that.
Yeah, now I'm just
that description.
My brain's gone into overdrive.
There's one I know of, but it's gone. I can't remember the name because when me and Tim were talking about it last time, there's definitely a film I watched where maybe it's not a good example of sci-fi, but it's definitely an example of a film where nothing particularly happens, but it's still a good film. It's like just aren't many cases of the lack of conflict or the twist or the future has to be this, the future has to be that.
Yeah. I think sometimes if it's a spacey future, then the Earth has become a utopia. So I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think in the Star Trek films,
Yeah.
The Earth in the Star Trek films is pretty utopian. Whenever they visit, it's all nice and pretty, and there doesn't seem to be any. The conflict has sort of moved to outer space, and they seem to be a lot, Well,
you're absolutely right. I mean, I think that's a
so. But you're right. Yeah, there's
it's
still a conflict, but they've kind of moved the conflict away from the society that the kind of it's based in.
But is that the only way to make a utopian future film? Make it about conflict, just not about.
But it's like films are. Is there any films that you can think of that don't have that aspect of conflict?
It's going to. I mean, I think maybe the one thing is to think of like are there any sci-fi films that are just set like in the future or in a more sci-fi environment that are more just about everyday things? Like you generally set your film in a sci-fi environment so you can have this future technology or this crazy robot thing that then becomes the sort of downfall of your society or the crux of the story. It's like there are very few none that I can think of right now that are just set in an interesting time period, like a period piece. It's like they don't have these crazy twists. They're I think past settings that you put characters in, and they have their little character interactions, but nothing's ever like world destroying or there's going to be this thing. They very rarely sort of go into that world. They're just a story that happens in that period.
I mean, you could say something like Interstellar happens in a kind of period and it's not necessarily
but I'd say that comes into sort of near future, so I think there's a difference.
Well, the bit later in the film perhaps.
It jumps around a little bit, but
I think there's definitely a genre where it's kind of near future, as in possibly in our lifetime's future, where it kind of they try and set, because it's quite close to our time. The technology is similar, and the story, it can be a lot more story focused. I think the further you go in the future, the more that becomes part of the story, because I guess you're changing the surroundings and the
you need a convenient way to work it in. Like, to set up your world, you do need to sort of show that the world exists and it's going to be bad for a while because of this. If the world is good, then I don't know where I'm going with that, but
no, I think what you're saying is you in some way you have to tie in what's happening in the world into the narrative so people can understand it. Otherwise, if it's so different to now, people won't understand the world that they're living in. If you know what I mean. So if it's kind of key to the plot, then you're using the plot to explain what's happening.
No, I think I agree with you, except for the fact that when you think of all the dystopian films or whatever, they start with the premise that it's kind of utopian, and you kind of just go with that, and you're already there. You don't actually need to go further than that.
No, I watched. I think I mentioned it to you guys earlier. This film called Parallels, which, as it sounds, is about parallel dimensions. A little bit like Sliders. I think it's unashamedly a bit like Sliders, but that kind of, it's not set in the future to begin with, but because you're going through these like parallel dimensions, you never know what is the correct timeline, essentially, and they jump around from dystopian future to future, whereby actually they're just in that period for such a small amount of time that characters are, and the people they interact with are able to just live their future lives. Like one guy goes into a shop to try and buy something, and all the payment systems are totally different, and it's like, that's not the crux of the story.
Do you know what? I think I've seen this. Is this about a building that?
Yeah, that's what I could have swore you mentioned it before.
That I've forgotten that was what it was called.
Yeah. It's
I didn't realize that I only watched it was a film.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, no, it just ends.
I thought it was the first in a TV series.
No, it just ends.
That explains it.
No, it just ends. Basically, this was like a TV show in concept that got turned into a film and then put out on Netflix.
So did it start as a pilot?
No, it was designed as a pilot, but it's basically feature length.
Right.
And there's been no talk of anything else. So I think they maybe went, this isn't getting picked up as a series, no one's interested, so we'll make it as this short film. And it just ends. Which is great, because there is no, you don't actually get to the point that Tim's maybe talking about where everything starts to go kind of like all future-y and there's like angels and things like that. There's none of that stuff. It's all just like left hanging, which is good in a way, but it's not good enough to make you think enough about it. But different dimensions maybe show you those worlds without giving you that major plot thing that you're
it's funny you should take, because I have thought about trying to think of an idea that's set in the future, but not necessarily like it could, it could be any time, and it's all about the story and the time and stuff is just more of a just a style kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I think Tim's right in that, I'd be watching that going, okay, what's the catch?
Yeah.
Especially if it was quite different to
I mean, you could definitely
reality.
do something like, a typical dating scene, but just set in the future, and like with little bits and pieces that were, just sort of curiosities, things that keep you kind of interested.
Yeah.
But if it's anything more than that, if it's about,
but I think that's maybe
society or something.
Yeah, but that's maybe where, like, I think we're probably in a better position to do a film like that because we'll make something short, and that you can get away with, because you can go for that kind of featurey visual style with that cute little story about boy meets girl. Whereas when you come to a feature film and you've got to fill 2 hours, or a TV show that's got to fill 20 episodes, it then becomes really hard to not build up to this climactic event. So I think it's a real tough one. It's almost like take Love Actually and just set it in space, and have that run out. I think you may get into the situation that Andy's in, and it's like, well, why am I in space? What's the big space thing that's going to happen? And actually, it's not. That's a tough thing. It's a good thing to tackle. It's a really good thing to tackle.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are ways to do it. Not many that we can think of.
We tried.
We tried. But actually tackling society and what society would be like. Maybe Star Trek does it, but like I can't really think of anything else that actually sort of tries to take that on. Because as soon as you start talking about that, you're just waiting for the catch.
Yeah, it's like one that always sticks in my mind is like Children of Men, and you kind of go, well, they did a cool kind of just about future world very subtly, but then the whole thing is based around pregnancy, and it's like that there are no like females being born, and you're like, oh, that's the sci-fi thing that's happened because that doesn't happen now, and it's like, yeah, it gets so close, and then it's not. It's a totally sci-fi thing with that big climactic event.
I mean, I think that film does the kind of believable future really well. And I think that's kind of, but I think that again comes under the sort of close near future, which is but I think that, in a sort of stylistic visual way and stuff, and I like the fact that they don't make too big a deal of the future-ness. It's just very sort of backgroundy kind of thing, and I think that's easier if it's a near future thing as opposed to a kind of quite dramatically different kind of future. But yeah, I thought that was done really well.
Yeah, no, it's definitely something we should come back to, like, as these are our ideas and these short films we've been making are kind of like kick-off things. We should definitely come back to how do we approach that, because it's a really great way to think. You're already fixed on your sort of what your story is going to be. It's like, we are going to try and make a film that fits in between A and B, instead of going, oh, we can make this whatever genre of film. So it's quite nice to have that limitation, and then it's a really interesting one, because how do you do it and make it without what's the sci-fi thing? What's the big sci-fi thing?
Yeah, comment with your ideas.
Yeah, no, let us know. All right.
Yeah, it was a good place.
Good.
Cool.
Thank you, guys. We shall see you for a post Star Wars podcast, which will be minus.
I won't be here.
Minus Andy, because
I will be sitting with my fingers in my ears and trying not to avoid all media.
That could be quite funny.
I
quite like the idea that we're doing the thing talking about Star Wars and you're still sat there just in the corner going,
I won't.
I don't want to listen to it.
Yeah, I won't be listening to the podcast until after I've seen the film. So, but
no, it'll be a good reason to talk about Star Wars some more in January when you come back and you've seen it, and we can go over it again.
Yeah. But me and Guy will be here next week.
Yeah.
With a special guest potentially.
Yeah, maybe a special guest. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. He hasn't said
an Andy
no.
replacement.
An Andy replacement. Maybe 2 Andy replacements. Yeah. Maybe 3 Andy replacements.
Oh man,
it's gonna be packed.
Yeah. Obviously, I'm that big a presence that you need 3.
Yeah. You fill the room, Andy. You fill the room.
Cool.
Neat. All right. We'll see you then. After Star Wars.
Yeah.
Excitement's palpable.
Yeah. Cool. All right. See you then.
Cheers.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.